Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Artsquarelab. How did you come to create Artsquarelab? Or what is Artsquarelab, if you would say it in a nutshell?
Let me say it shortest. We say that our story has started, our story is the story of creativity, in fact, because many people connect us with design thinking, or people who are a bit more well informed, they would say we are service design agency, which we are. But we always somehow go back to the beginning of the story with promoting creativity. Creativity understood that has much to do with entrepreneurship, in fact. Yeah. So it's not only creativity / talent to draw. I know how to draw, I know how to stick things together and make things beautiful. This we also know. Yeah. But the courage, creative courage to go, to think a little bit differently, to challenge the way of thinking, and also to be open, to let us go into something where we do not know how it will finish at the end. So this is kind of a competence of the future, no? Am I right, Jane?
Yeah, but how did you come about it? I mean, from your experience, yes, you come from the design side, from the creative side, but how to employ it, as you said, with entrepreneurship or taking that path? How did you come about it? Because it's not a natural one, to be honest. It's a little bit surprising.
So then, from the creativity, the above mentioned creativity, we collaborated a lot with artists in the frame of social projects at the very beginning. We have created ASBL in 2012-13 here in Luxembourg. That the purpose was to bring artists to collaborate with businesses. And we have done a lot of projects with artists or artists / entrepreneurs, and then these were mostly social projects. And after the projects became kind of famous here in Luxembourg, many companies came back to us and said, hey, we also would like to use your methodology. What is this methodology? So we use a lot of design thinking at that time, and we came to the point to think, it was with Piotr at the beginning, and then Veronica joined. We thought, why not to create the company out of it. And then at some point Veronica contacted us as service designer. Maybe you can say your perspective, how was that?
Me joining this train was actually, we met on the Service Jam. It was the event organized by Madgalena and Piotr in February.
You contacted us before, in fact. That was, I remember the email coming when
they would like to help us.
Before that, I want to help them to organize the jam. And then we met on the jam, so I saw them in action. I did my studies in service design, which is very connected to design thinking. And we said, okay, let's do something together. We have we believe that this will work here in Luxembourg because there's not such an agency yet, and we all have knowledge, we have expertise, and we said, okay, let's start it.
But I mean, you saw the ideas somewhere else, working in other countries, and what was the feedback there? Was it positive, or was it so like a hockey stick like this? Or that you say, okay, now let's jump on the train? Or how did you come to say, okay, let's do it? We believe in it. There must be something which triggered it to you. It's not just a little bit the art, the projects with the artists, but I mean, in order to do this step, then I suppose there needed to be something else in between, or was it natural to you to do it like that?
I think that because, yes, as Magda said, that we were working a lot with the artists, we see this creativity and we see that business is missing this. And suddenly we try to do more and more we use design thinking methodology in different projects. We try to bring it in public sector, in private, and we see that there's more and more companies, institutions are interested in this, and we noticed, okay, and we saw the results, that it's really working, and we can give space for everybody to create in diversity team, that they can create together, and they can build some, we are a prototype that they can test it, and we see the value of this methodology, and after this, it grows, and more people started to contact us to ask about what is this design thinking, what is human-centered design. They heard someone on the conferences, okay, we heard about design thinking and we are doing this, let's try it. And this, I think that was this natural, and of course, yes, we saw it in different countries, we see how people are doing, we are studying, and we see that, okay, this big value in design thinking, this human approach towards business, and we said, okay, why not bring it to Luxembourg and what? Because, for example, I was curious what is on the borders of Luxembourg, that this is not crossing from Netherlands, from Germany, that this is really popular approach now, and we try to bring it here in Luxembourg and to promote it.
But the other thing is, you had a service which was not known, or a kind of service which was not so well known. How did you go about it in order to gather, let's call it, but the first clients, maybe the first users, and then the clients that the first invoices you could issue? How was this path?
In 2013, we started to promote. We organize a lot of events. We organize meetups. We try to. I remember till now the first meetup that we organized about design thinking. There were 3 people. Marzena, welcome. And she's still with us. Yes, but it takes time because it was something new, and we try to promote. We try to do as much as possible to show value of this approach, to really. Also shows that this approach is used in different countries, and we can use it here also. And yes, meetings, promoting.
Not only speaking about it, but also organizing the jams, which are the 48 hours of experiencing the process. So people are really, they are introduced, the methodology is introduced by let's solve some problem and let's just use the tools that are provided and that are available to help us come from getting the problem space really analyzed and then come up with solutions. So with people have a chance to think about the solutions, to build them and to test them. So this is the big difference of spending a lot of energy and resources to promote something in media and just to invite people to experience.
But the other thing is, it's also, if you look at it, you said in other countries took it, on the borders it took, but it didn't come to Luxembourg. Maybe we're a little bit like Asterix, the Galliers. But the other thing is probably also a cultural thing here in Luxembourg. How did you resent that? How did you felt about that in order to move on? Because it's one thing to organize it, but then to develop it. How did you go about it? Is it just word of mouth, or was it?
A lot of as in Luxembourg, so we could do a small survey who is Luxembourgish and here at the audience. If I one. Two. 3.
Yeah. And there will be more and more with the Brexit. We will get more and more. I understand what you mean.
Yeah. So that's one point, that the audience is already coming from somewhere else. So people hear about the design thinking from different sources. On the other hand, the events that we organize. Indeed gather people who are already converted, so those who are already into agile or into lean or into other methodologies and are more curious what design thinking can bring. also many people come because they join the exchange, and they are missing a little bit these communities. People coming from London say there is in London there are normally 2 meetups per day, and I don't know to which one to go. Why here in Luxembourg? But we see already change now. If there is meetups today, I checked there is another meetup about robotics or IoT, and it's sometimes it's difficult to choose also
Which
one
one to
week
go?
where to go, especially one last month with Design City Festival. It was a pleasure to participate in. So we see also the change in Luxembourg, but I try also to understand your question. Yes, there definitely Luxembourg has certain resistance towards risk taking. I'm curious, how does it look for startups on the other hand, because but I also think many startups are imported here, but it also, we tend to say we are sometimes smuggling design thinking or the methodologies that we work with. It's the same with service design, that in order to convince the clients to take a risk and to get on board of the action, that they don't know what will happen at the end, so exactly into this creative action, it's also not that easy. So in Luxembourg we always say it's based on really connecting to people in different institutions, and sometimes we have questions from the companies from abroad, how is business going, and we think they want to come and do design thinking here. And we always would like to say good luck. If you have no connections and you don't know the ground here, it will be difficult it will take maybe next 5-7 years to...
But on the other hand, once you were talking a little bit about, okay, in the beginning you had a small community, and it's also that, in my opinion, correct me if I'm wrong, it's also smaller customers, smaller clients. And how did you go about making the step for bigger clients, or more established clients? Because, as I understood, it's a grassroots movement, it's a little bit bottom up. How did you go about that, if you look a little bit back? Because as you said, you have corporates, publics, small and bigger companies and so on. How would you say you go about that? How did you go about that? How did you address it? Was there a special tweak, or did it just come naturally?
I think that
How did you see, how did you view this evolution?
I would say that the evolution, I'm curious what you guys think. I think that we do not differentiate. We had bigger client also at the beginning, so the bank here in Luxembourg, but the evolution happens with the extent. So let's say the bank would say at the beginning, okay, show me what you can in 2 hours.
Okay.
Let's do the workshop, design thinking from A to Z, 2 hours, disruptive solutions at the end, and prototypes, and let's put it on market, your solutions. If it will work, we employ you for longer. No? So at the beginning we were like, okay, in 2 hours we can show you. So we sold teasers at the beginning, but today we are close to, or basically we say no to selling teasers, design thinking, and 4 hours we say no, even if it's a big client coming. So we prefer to have nice conversation in 4 hours for half price than really lying that it's possible to do in 4 hours magic with this methodology. So I would say that yes, that it's rather that clients extend. They would say one day at the beginning, 2 years ago, and today they would say, let's do it in 6 weeks, for example, or in one agile sprint, or let's do the design sprint or jam or something like this. No, or we have something to.
I think that this is the way, because how it starts, like, okay, with this innovation, with this new approach, you need to find people who are convinced, who will be your ambassadors in the company. And sometimes people are coming to our meetup, they say, oh my God, we need it in our company. Tomorrow we need to implement it approach, we need to change. and let's do something. Yes, and what we start, sometimes we do some workshops, and after they see the value, how it works, and say, okay, now we see we can implement it here and here. And suddenly the projects are coming up from one company because they see in different departments like, okay, we can use this approach, and okay, let's try to do something together. But still, I can say that yes, you need to experience it. You need to see how it works, and after this, you can take it to your daily work and to see, okay, what is the value of this approach.
And is it something? I mean, how did you build? Because very often when somebody starts a company with a service or product, the question is very often, okay, you have, of course, you have costs, you need to cover them, and then you have revenue streams. Do you have recurrent revenue stream on the one hand, or is it generally you provide a training, a solution, and then it's consultancy services add-on, or how can one see it? Because it's interesting to see how the revenue streams is also developed.
It differs also from how we have started indeed.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask.
So it was more punctual events indeed at the beginning, and now it's connected to gaining trust also, not only in us but also in the methods, and also I think that companies are very much looking at what competitors are doing. So sometimes they would say. That's why we try to collaborate with competitors as well in order to fertilize the market a little bit, because this trust in the methods and in innovation in general is needed to develop not only our actions but also maybe actions of people who are sitting here, or for those who are consultants of Lean or of agile methodologies. We very often talk to agile coaches, and they say that they challenge the same cultural differences in the company or cultures of the companies. So now going back to the question, we are trying to indeed scale from training to consultancy to the long-term consultancy, where we can have a stable base also for the revenues, and we also iterate on our products, on how we want to provide bigger spectrum of products for different clients. It's
We were talking about scaling because it's also interesting nowadays in the quick. It's called startup world or the entrepreneurial world. It's all about scaling fast and so on. But how do you foresee the scaling of your services or of the products you are going to offer? You are now 3 persons doing the work, and if it scales, if it becomes bigger, is it that you were talking about ambassadors inside the companies? Could they then take a little bit of the work that you do, some kind of train the trainer, and then they spread the work and you come then as experts? Or how do you see the scaling, if there's some scaling feasible?
Yes, with these ambassadors, because I'm thinking that we are in this time of putting knowledge to the ground, that we still are ambassadors of this approach, planting the seeds, that we try to really promote it, and still we are in this period of convincing people that why they should use it, what is the value of a human-centered approach. But of course it's growing. It's growing, more and more people are coming. We have more people who participate also in our trainings and who are coming back to us for supporting us during big events, big conference, because sometimes also we have a clients who, we would like to give some conference experience, which is unique and which is different than PowerPoint presentation, and people get sleep because, after half a day watching presentations, nothing happened. And for this kind of events, also for different projects, we have a group of the people with whom we cooperate, and we try to bring them to different projects, because what is also important that each project is different. Sometimes it's long term, sometimes short term, but also we try to make a group of people who will work on these projects who really fits to these projects. That sometimes we need more UX competences, sometimes we need more ethnographic competences. That we try to bring to our team also people from outside who has this kind of skill and competences that yes, we can develop this in this project.
Just maybe it's a moment also to we memorize today about where we have started, because when we met three of us, perhaps everybody had a different starting point and different ideas, but there was one idea that maybe when we scale we are there. We have visited
Design Thinking Center.
Design Thinking Center in Amsterdam, which is a huge 800 square meters gym. They say Design Thinking gym, so it's a huge hall. And we were jealously visiting each corner of it and seeing how these guys managed to bring change to different companies. So they are. This is a popular dream also of many companies. We have Experience Center now here in PwC. We have other innovation centers popping up in-house of different companies. But such a place where we could invite not only public, not only private actors. It wouldn't belong only to business who could pay a lot to be trained there, but also to serve schools, serve students, organize different kind of jams. So this is kind of an idea that we have somewhere at the end of the day. Yes.
Which is a good idea, because it's an interesting vision to have. And if you look a little bit back on your history, are there things which you would have done differently, or where you would say, if we had waited a little bit? Are there some of these points where you would say, or was it just plain vanilla?
Maybe we should have started earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
I think there were some propositions to merge with different company, for example, to be part of it. But we really like that we stayed independent and we are free to do whatever we want. So we are now also going with the flow. As the Luxembourgish market is evolving, we also want to kind of serve them, so not just offer something that we think is the best, but the companies here don't find it relevant. So we have this independence to be very agile, and to also sometimes we get the email from a client, can you do this and this and this? So it's really tailor-made almost solution. Exactly. So it's nice to be, three of us discussing why not to do it this way, why not to try something new.
Maybe when we will have this talk after 1 year, we will say that we spend too much time on this tailoring services, no? Because we I often meet other entrepreneurs who would say, as soon as possible, they would automatize processes, because obviously it influences revenues. And I'm curious if this experiment will work, how long we will manage to tailor, in fact, which for the moment we think it's one of our values and our advantage, and we can afford it at the moment. If it will last forever, we don't know. I'm really curious if one day we will say we could have automatized faster or automatized earlier.
The other thing is, in your services, you have also a lot of feedback. I mean, you are building your service on the feedback of your clients, of your customers, because you are just assisting them that they are creative. Did you happen to have one or the other client, customer, where you would say, oh, that was really tough, because we didn't get into the culture? I mean, you don't need to name it. But I mean, that needs. How did you go about that one? Or did you dare say, okay, but sorry, we cannot break the mold. Leave it, or how was that one? You were smiling.
Yes, because
I think we all have.
Don't say the name of the client.
Don't describe it.
no, I will not describe and I will not the name of the client. But yes, we had this kind of situation, and what is really funny that you asked this question, and all of us, yes, we know, and yes, but sometimes I think that. Yes, all the time we also, maybe not all the time, but we discuss also what we could do different, and what we could change. Maybe this was too early for them to come with this approach, or maybe this was not what they were needed at this moment, or maybe they were not ready for this change. And we thought that it was like shocking therapy for them. I can imagine that for them was totally, they were taking to the moon from the place where they were in this moment. And I think that this was too much intrusive, that we should start with something step by step, slower, really more convinced, showing the value and in the longer process, but they said, okay, we need it now. And we gave them now, but I think that they were not using this in this time. Yeah? But what is interesting that after a few, they're coming back and they started to, okay, maybe, yes, you were right, but we were not ready for this change. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think it's also a discussion for those who are into design thinking or into innovation and to consultancy for innovation. There is this discussion that innovation looks very colorful. There is a lot of post-its and people are going crazy, and this is what you see. But sometimes this is what people expect. Also, the client, they expect it will be easy, smooth, nice, familiar, funny process, and it is. But in this process, there is a lot of struggle as well. If you really want to make a real change and not only a team building activity, then it requires some pains. So I would agree with what Piotr said, that maybe it's too early, but this is also the way how we gave up the 4 hours teasers, design thinking teasers. Let us just experience what it is over 4 hours. So this, thanks to learning with one client, we said, okay, we finish with this offer.
Yes, also one day we try to finish now. Yeah. That's because, this is what is really important to. Okay, sometimes we do these open events, we do to show people how the process looks like, but in the reality, service design projects, it's hard work. It's hard work because what is important for us, that what we would like to provide at the end is solutions, ideas for the solutions based on the research, based on the proven data, and to collect this data, we need time, we need to do research. It's that we do desk research, it's hours of interviews, transcripts, discussions, to find really what is the need behind. And this process looks totally different in the reality than during the workshop. During the workshop, what we would like to provide people is to show them the value of human-centered approach, show them process, and yes, a little bit experiment with them to show them, okay, am I ready to go with something which is I'm ready to on the street and to test it, to validate, because we discover also that this is quite difficult topic here in Luxembourg, that we are really afraid to go and test something which is unready, something which is first idea, prototype, to collect the feedback. Yes? And for us this is quite also important to push as soon as possible to the market and check it, validate and iterate. But besides this, yes, this research, this is quite a big part in our processes when we serve the service design projects for our clients, that we really push to do the research, because we really believe that based on the data we can deliver good ideas, because without research, yes, we can deliver ideas, we can deliver prototypes, but we know how and what kind of prototypes.
But on the other hand, with very often also what we ask fireside chatters is, how do you get into, who is your contact person inside the company? it could be HR, could be product development or management or I don't know what. Is it for you generally the same entrance or does it differ?
It definitely differs.
Okay.
So it's all who you mentioned. So sometimes it is HR, and sometimes we are spotting HR persons and trying to give them to offer them our services. But it is very often by people who on development side very often. So those who already were in contact with innovation by Agile again, so Agile coaches, product owners, so those who are fighting their fights with Lean or with Agile, and then they see something is missing to us, maybe this design thinking step before could be a good entry, or it could make their life easier. So sometimes they simply speak already the same language, so it's easier for us to say, okay, we are on the same planet, because it's often about the language. In fact, it's often about the understanding understanding the needs. So we also part of our work in the team, and this is where teamwork is very important, is also to empathize, because we to practice what we preach. So we go to clients and we convince them to be user-centric, and we ourselves, we have to continuously be user-centric as well, and think about what the client is, whom our work can bring the biggest value, in fact. So often developers, often IT part of the companies, but HR as well, are often really simply accidental people who have heard something or have learned something and had enough power and force to bring it to the boss and say, why not? Why don't we try it on our integration day, or on our day away, or something like this? So it's
and this your sales cycle. I mean, from the first contact to the closing of the let's say the contract or the offer, the proposal, has it shortened over time because design thinking has a little bit more buzz now? Or is it that they are even, because it has the buzz, they are even more inquisitive and want to know more before they decide? How did you see that change, that landscape? Or is there no change for you? That's called, maybe it could be.
It hasn't shortened yet.
No, it hasn't shortened.
Yes, it hasn't shortened. I'm not sure. It's worth to rethink what you say, that because maybe it's more inquisitive at the moment, but definitely it hasn't shortened.
Okay.
Still, we wish the decisions would be taken faster. Maybe because we also offer various offers, so depending on the maturity and depending on the actual needs, we offer just user research sometimes, or the full service design process, including prototyping and testing prototypes, or sometimes maybe innovation days for the company where they could come a bit closer to the method and dance with the method and see how it feels. And yes, so we definitely multiply now different offers, and we rethink what value, what exact needs we are answering, and therefore maybe we puzzle a little bit our clients with choose this or this, because it's our offers are usually the prototypes we are offering, and able to iterate on the offer, and not only negotiate it, but also to iterate on it simply. So also take it as something flexible and create at the end a patchwork that the client feels, okay, this is mine.
Okay. You have maybe some questions. Now it's your time. Yes, please.
A favourite success. So we know design thinking is human-centred. So you work with different clients. Obviously, we don't need to know the name, but are there any particular ones that stand out where the human-centred part really helped the process and really gave fantastic results for you collection.
I think what we appreciate, or at least myself, the most is the mindset change. So there is a project that can last for a week or a month or 2 months, but what is after is not just a product or a prototype, but it's a different way of thinking that people take to their even homes, to their everyday work, and the colleagues can learn something from them, and maybe the social shift is happening. So for me, that would be the biggest success that we also see in the companies, that they would familiarize the human-centric approach.
I remember the moment of co-creation with one company where we were lucky to have the public, so lovers and haters of the product, but also the four managers of the company were circulating in the groups and co-creating. Not only, there was a moment when we thought, should we mix them or not, because they will defend their products once they come in front of especially not necessarily lovers of their products. So, but they were curiously listening and at some moment stopped defending, and we saw that they start to think differently and that they appreciate to hear something from different angle, and that was coming from real humans. So that is something I think Philip Grotter was also from Test My App. He was talking about this last time sitting here, but we would often I think we share this. I agree also with Veronica that this moment of, it's very difficult to change mindset or change attitude. So we have done before also work in educational field, and you see how much you have to invest to change the attitude of someone to something, or to especially if you work with values or with something that is very close to people. And when it happens, I think we think sometimes the job is done. So job is also done not only when the product is already, or the service is provided, prototyped, tested, and we see that the client really made these changes, but also intermediary milestones are exactly those where we see with sometimes these goose bubbles that we brought people together to do something together, and this is, maybe we have a little bit of the NGO gene or the human gene to like human interactions, and we like to contribute to this. However, it sounds pathetic in business maybe, but we hear a lot, especially now with the discussions about robotics, and people think, will robots take over, will robots... This morning I have seen the video about the robot dogs, and I thought, okay, still human factor. There's a lot of more and more. The more we discuss robots, the more we talk about human factor, and we see that people are kind of split. And those believers in human factor, we are part of them.
Another question? No. And the last one would be, for each of you, in the different phases or steps, how you call it, in design thinking, which is for each of you your favorite one, if there is one?
Okay, so I can start.
Yeah, research.
Yes, research is really interesting, because suddenly when you start to talk with people, you discover their needs. This is what is happening also during our jams, during our events, that people are afraid to go outside and to talk with people. And suddenly when they go, they say, oh my God, these people are talking to me, and these people would like to share their experience. And this is this moment that sometimes when we do the research, when we have this, 30 hours of interviews, pages of transcript, and suddenly we discover, okay, what is behind these letters, words, that there is some needs. Yes, this is the most important, I think, phase for me. That after this, okay, this is good start for further, investigation, creation new ideas, and searching what is the real problem. Because what is sometimes companies are coming to us and asking, okay, we have this kind of problems, and we start to do interviews, we start to do the research, and we discover, okay, the problem is somewhere totally else. Yes, and we see that, okay, this is this data proven. It's not just from our side that we think it could be like this, but we really have the data which allowed us to go further. This gate is opening now, okay, this is our challenge, these are the needs that we would like to fulfill. And I think that this is the most important, to really go and to figure out what is the real problem, what is the needs that we would like to fulfill with our service products. It's also not just about the business products, not about just business, but also about public sectors. That what kind of services, what kind of needs we would like to fulfill, and this is the for me personally, I see the biggest value in the research. This qualitative.
Yeah, and you, Veronica.
So for me, of course, what you said is very true, and it's understanding the real problem is really beneficial. But I'm a creative person. I like crafts. I like building. So for me, my favorite part is more from the ideation. So involving the client, their customer, the guy from the IT, the guy from the marketing. So really a different kind of people in one room, trying to solve some problem, trying to build something. So if we would only take a client and consultants, then we would always stay in our own biases and our own expertise. But really bringing this different people from different corners to build something together, it's always very, very valuable, because that's where also a lot of discussion happens. And for me, those are the moments that are very, very interesting, and it's also the clients really appreciate those moments that finally they realize, okay, maybe there is value in talking to clients and doing something together, because at the end of the day, the client is the one who is going to use the product, and we are building it for him. But sometimes we forget when we are too much into spreadsheets of how much money we need to make.
There's this one, yeah.
Yeah.
And for you, Magda?
I like research, empathizing as well. I find myself into this, but because already mentioned, I have to
Or to something else.
But there is something also in prototyping what is very close to my heart. I prefer to. So the essence of prototyping for us would be to do this fast, quickly, and just to show your idea with your hands instead of describing it with your mouse. I wouldn't. We don't encourage clients to say, yeah, our product will be this, and we will go, and there will be na. But draw it, build it, show us just very quickly something what allows others to interact with and say quickly, get feedback. So. I think I'm a little bit natural prototyper. My mother would say, yes, I always provided something unfinished because I wanted to know, okay, tell me what you think, because I will not continue if you think it's not what we are searching for. So also with my previous jobs, or I remember, for anecdote, I was busy in my professional life also with curating exhibitions in the past, and I remember when I brought to Kulturfabrik the shoebox with the maquette of how, in my opinion, the exhibition should be, how people should walk, and I remember that the three guys who were supposed to decide, they were like, okay, we will do it, let's go, and we sit in the car and we went to Villa Root to discuss about the space concretely, and they were bringing me my card saying, so your shoebox here? But only because they clicked very fast, okay, this can be like this, I see what you mean.
Yeah, okay. And also with this prototyping is also sometimes interesting when people are startups coming to us and the ideas, and then you can draw it with this application. You can draw it separately, and suddenly they discover that they are talking about the same idea, but how they would like to solve it is sometimes totally different. And even to make this communication clear between the team, if we talk about the same things, is it clear for us who we are and what we would like to achieve, how it should look like, because how we describe and how we understand, word house is different because we have different backgrounds, we have different different experience, yes, and this makes really much more easier communication between members of the team, and it's really speed up work. We see this when we involve what Veronica said, the IT guys, and they really see the value of their products, of their work, and because they don't see just and they don't put the code, but they see that, okay, this application is solving the real problem, and they said, okay, now I got it, I have, totally different attitude towards the products, yeah, because it's not just, putting code, but it's solving problems, yes, and this is the value which we would like to bring to the companies, public sectors, bringing value to the market, yeah, this value is, I think, the most important. Why should people use your application and why not?
Okay, thank you very much. So I would like to thank you for having played the fireside chat.